The Witcher Season 3 is now streaming on Netflix. Henry Cavill's time of playing the character Geralt of Rivia is coming to an end after this season to be replaced by Liam Hemsworth for future seasons of the show. And just in case you didn't know this, Netflix wants to make sure that we all know he is still in the show at least for this season. They have essentially allowed the show to be doomed by letting him leave, and they may not even fully realize just how big of a mistake this is. Just going off the comment sections of this post alone, you can pretty much guess fan reaction to his departure. But exactly how did this happen and what brought us to this? The news that Henry Cavill was leaving was announced back in October of 2022, after season 3 had finished filming. According to members of the cast, they found out just a day before the public did, and had no clue during filming season 3 that Cavill had planned not to renew his contract. But the decision for Henry Cavill to leave must have been made quite a while before the official announcement, considering that they had already casted Liam Hemsworth as his replacement. Henry stated, "My journey as Geralt of Rivia has been filled with both monsters and adventures, and alas, I will be laying down my medallion and my sword for season 4. In my stead, the fantastic Mr. Liam Hemsworth will be taking up the mantle of the White Wolf. As with the greatest literary characters, I pass the torch with reverence for the time spent embodying Geralt, and enthusiasm to see Liam's take on the most fascinating and nuanced of men. Liam, good sir, this character has such a wonderful depth to him. Enjoy diving in and seeing what you find." The exact reason for his departure has not been stated, but we can say with pretty good confidence that there was behind the scenes tension between showrunner Lauren Hisrich and Henry Cavill, mostly over creative differences. In 2021, prior to the release of season 2, Cavill said he had pushed for a more book-accurate version of the character, probably a response to both his own passion of the source material and some fans' criticism of season 1's deviations from the books. And at certain times, he may have flat out refused to film certain scenes that he felt deviated too far from the source material. It is rumored such a thing happened when he refused to film a scene that made a joke out of Geralt's horse Roach's death, but instead pushed for the scene that we ended up getting in season 2. He would also state, "It's important for me to have the character be three-dimensional, and it's tricky to do so, as I was saying earlier, because there's a certain vision and there's a certain set storyline and plot, and so it was about me trying to find Geralt's place within that." All of my asks and requests were along the lines of just being faithful to the source material. If you know anything about Henry Cavill, he is the type of person that will never publicly badmouth anyone, but his comments do give us a peek into the behind the scenes. It is clear that he found it difficult to fit a more book-accurate Geralt into the storyline that was created, and that this is probably where tensions would arise. He was an enthusiastic and passionate fan of the books and games, and his co-star Anya Chalotra, who plays Yennefer, recently said, "Cavill was universally beloved by fans of the books, games, and the show, embodying the role of the Witcher perfectly. The British actor's enthusiasm for the source material was infectious," according to her. And I quote, "He was very involved in his understanding and portrayal of this character, and it's something that he's always been so passionate about from day one, about these characters and this story. That's all I've ever known in his dedication to Geralt and to this narrative." Also stating that it's a breath of fresh air to have someone to work with that loves the material. It would seem pretty obvious that he didn't have any issues with his co-stars, but more bumped heads with writers and the producers. According to Bo DeMayo, a former writer and producer on The Witcher, some of the creatives seem to have a disdain for the source material. To quote him, "Some of the writers were not fans or actively disliked the books and games, even actively mocking the source material. It's a recipe for disaster and bad morale," when referring to his time while working on The Witcher. I would like to note that The Witcher showrunner Laura Hisrich has come out and denied that any of the writers mocked the source material, so who knows which one is telling the truth. But it would seem clear that the creators didn't want to follow the source material, while Henry passionately wanted to stick to it. For better or worse, they wanted to make their own thing. It's really up to you if you like or dislike what they have created, but it's clear that it has deviated quite a bit from the source material, and too much for Henry Cavill to feel like it's worth sticking along for the ride. When it comes to Netflix, allowing Henry Cavill to lose interest in continuing with the show will probably end up being one of the biggest mistakes they make in years to come.
Fuck.
Henry Cavill had stated he was willing to stick with the show as long as it stayed true to the source material. The Witcher was set up to be the biggest show on all of streaming. It had a huge fan base from the books and games, and everybody was excited to have Henry as the Witcher. When fans started complaining about the show straying away from the source material, and when there started being tension between Henry and the showrunner, Netflix should have immediately course corrected. I would also like to note on the side, it is important to add that the games do deviate storyline-wise quite a bit from the books, and also add completely new storylines. However, fans of the books have embraced the games. This would be because the games follow the spirit and the characters of the books. You can deviate from the source materials and still honor the spirit of them. I think this is what Henry Cavill was wanting for the show. Everybody recognizes that no movie or TV show will follow a book perfectly, but they just wanted to stay true to the characters and the spirit of the story. In my personal opinion, the first season of The Witcher seemed to be a pretty decent attempt at this, but the characters in the storyline has continued to drift further and further from the source material, seemingly to frustrate both fans of the books and Henry Cavill. Netflix has allowed gold to slip away from them and has killed the potential for a show on Game of Thrones level of viewership. Regardless of how good season 3 and 4 are, fans are simply soured over it. But what do you think? Please give me your thoughts, and we can all definitely look forward to more Henry Cavill in Warhammer 40k.